What's up, guys? This is Princess Strong Style 9v2 and welcome back to my weekly Q&A, and this is going to be the 5th edition of this series. And I got some pretty good questions I'm going to answer for this week's edition, although funny enough, I'm answering this week's edition on the same week as the 4th one that I released, although the 4th one came out later than usual. But anyway, two things I'm going to notify you guys about. Number one is the fact that I recently got another copyright strike, so I don't know what the limit of my videos are in terms of length, so I'm going to try to stick to 15 minutes each video. So for this week, I'll probably have to chop it up into 2 parts possibly. Although there's 5 sets of questions, it's still going to take a while for me to answer some of these ones. But anyway, I'm still going to be looking forward to that. And number 2, stick around to the very end of the video after I answer all of these questions to notify you guys about what I want to do for next week's edition of the weekly Q&A for episode 6. So for this week's edition, let's kick it off with CrossFit Jesus. First question, thoughts on Tarantino's excessive use of the N-word in his movies? It doesn't fully offend me, although the fact that I've only seen one of his films, and that's Pulp Fiction, which is now my favorite movie of all time. But I can understand for a lot of people because he's used the N-word in a lot of his other films like Django Unchained, and I believe Jackie Brown he did it for, maybe even Reservoir Dogs. But he uses it more pretty much in a satirical or comedic sense, or even as a natural sense, like guys like Samuel L. Jackson usually say it. But I don't know, I can't really give a full opinion on that, but all I can say is that it doesn't really bother me, but in real life it kind of bothers me a bit when people are like saying it as an offensive slang more than like a hey, what's up, my you know what. And yeah. And your second question, Reservoir Dogs or Jackie Brown? Sadly, I can't really put one over the other because I haven't seen either of the films yet. But I think by default I'm going to go with Reservoir Dogs, just out of memorability, I guess. But yeah. And your third and final question is, do you think Will Ospreay should cut down on his flips before he gets seriously injured, or do you think it's a part of what makes his matches good? Or, as you put it in quotation marks, good. Yeah, I think he really needs to tone it down because not just on the flips he does, but on all of the crazy spots and athleticism, and he really needs to cut the bullshit with the no-selling, because it does annoy me. Sometimes I can like forgive it, but there are times where I'm like, what in the actual fuck? Like I believe it was in the Hiromu Takahashi match from the Super Juniors tournament, he was selling his arm like if it was damaged by Takahashi, but then at another moment he would just like, no, it was the knee, excuse me, and he was selling it like if it was completely damaged, but then the next minute he just no-sells it, and I really get annoyed by that. I think the only time where I felt that he did a really good job of using the injury, you know, like a psychology really well, was in the match with Kushida at Invasion Attack. I seriously believe a majority of you guys really need to go out of your way to go find that match. That is the best, not only match that Ospreay's had, but it's his best performance, I think, because he was so creative in finding a way to go around, you know, the injury, not the injury, the damage that's done to his arm, and I thought he was really creative around that, and he sold it very well, and it was just amazing performance he pulled out, and pretty much on his debut that night, he just stole the show, and I would just love to see more of Will Ospreay from that standpoint. And when it comes to his flips, it's definitely something that makes his matches exciting and fun to watch, but I think if I look at it critically, I have to say that it does get really annoying, and I think for his health in the long run, he seriously needs to tone it down, because I heard he had like 2 or 3 injuries from like one match or something like that. I don't remember what it was. I heard some rumor about that, but yeah, Ospreay seriously needs to tone it down. But yeah, thank you for sending in your questions. Next set of questions come from Greedy Selfish 97. What is your favorite superhero / comic book movie? That's a no-brainer. The Dark Knight. I absolutely adore that movie. It's one of the best films I have ever seen. I would say it's probably my second favorite movie, just behind Pulp Fiction. And if I had to put like my top 5 together, I would say Pulp Fiction, The Dark Knight, Princess Mononoke, Star Wars, what was it? The Empire Strikes Back, I guess, and maybe one other one, but I can't remember because I haven't seen all the great films that have been out. But yeah, those are like amazing movies. But The Dark Knight is easily the best comic book film of all time because of A+ acting, excellent writing, memorable scenes, kick-ass action sequences, and great technical precision when it comes to the cinematography, the editing, and just everything. It's just a brilliant film, and it's pretty much Christopher Nolan's masterpiece. It's just amazing. And although I haven't seen Memento, it's definitely the best of the Dark Knight trilogy. And yeah, it's just amazing. Thoughts on the Impact and GFW merger, or Global Force Wrestling? It's just laughable because, let's be honest, with the whole merger thing, it's just a way for Jeff Jarrett to say, hey, that Global Force Wrestling was not a complete failure, although it definitely was as its own company before merging with Impact, aka TNA. And really, just that, it's just so ridiculous and just really laughable, the whole merger thing. Not because that they're merging with TNA, but the fact that it's an overall just way for Global Force to say, like, hey, we did something significant, when for 3 years they didn't really do anything significant. No shows, no nothing that like anybody that they were able to get any attention. The only way they got attention was the fact that they were the ones that were supporting, or I believe it was funding or something like that, New Japan's Wrestle Kingdom 9 when they were showing it on live pay-per-view in 2015. So that was the only memorable thing Global Force Wrestling ever did. But in terms of their stars or their championships, nothing. And the merging between them and Impact, yes, it brings a little bit more talent over to TNA, but honestly, nobody really gives a shit. I mean, come on. Although the Slammiversary pay-per-view does look interesting to me, although it happened last Sunday, I actually really want to watch it. Mainly for the tag title match, Patron versus Lashley, the Full Metal Mayhem mixed tag, and Sanjay Dutt versus Loki 2 out of 3 falls. Those look really interesting on paper to me. And it's really cool because I think the only positive thing I can think of from this merger is that they're bringing a little bit more international talent. I mean, they brought in, who was it? Oh god, I forgot. I think it was Naomichi Marufuji, Drago. I think they brought in Aerostar. They brought in some luchadors and some Japanese wrestlers to Impact, so that's really interesting. But other than that, really, the whole merger thing, it's just kind of like, I don't really care. And what is the meaning of life? The meaning of life is to not fuck up. No, I'm just kidding. There was a video I saw of a YouTuber by the name of Minilad who did his usual Q&A type of thing. And one of the questions he got was actually this very question. And he tried asking, you know, like the whole, what's the thing? I think it's like a program or something called Siri, where he asked, like, Siri, what's the meaning of life? And he kept getting, like, these ridiculous answers. It was just hilarious. But for me, I think the meaning of life as a whole is discovering oneself and discovering the beauty of the world and trying to understand the meaning of, you know, everything. Trying to learn what's the beauty of everything. So, yeah, I guess that's the best way to answer that question. But, yeah, thank you for your questions. Next set of questions come from Mr. Beetle 890. Thoughts on Randy Orton's face run in 2004? One word, or no, I was gonna say one word. Sorry, 2 words. It sucked. Honestly, I've seen bits and pieces, mainly of the face run, but that face run sucked. I mean, and it's mainly due to the fact that Orton got the title, which was a good move, but the problem with it was that they instantly put him in a feud with Triple H. And they had Triple H and Evolution turn on Randy Orton immediately after SummerSlam. So that killed him as a potential babyface. But at the same time, it made sense why they did it, because why would Triple H be secondary to Orton when he was the leader? But at the same time, it's like the whole dynamic with Orton being the champion, I think that's what hurt him as a face. So yeah, the run, let's be honest, it sucked ass. And next question was favorite Undertaker American Badass / Big Evil match. That's easy. The Brock Lesnar Hell in a Cell match from No Mercy 2002. That's as close to a masterpiece of a Hell in a Cell match you will ever see. If you want blood in your Hell in a Cell matches, well, you got a shit ton in here. My God, Undertaker did a sick play job in this match, but he also did an amazing job of making Brock Lesnar such a credible champion in that match. And that match pretty much made Brock Lesnar the man. of that time. And it was just amazing, an amazing Hell in a Cell match. Just brutal, bloody, great storytelling and psychology, fantastic selling from Undertaker. It was just brutal as a whole, and it's one of the best Hell in a Cell matches of all time, and one of the best matches both men have ever had. Amazing stuff. Highly recommended. But if I have to give some gems out, if I can give some shout-outs to Undertaker's run, I would choose the Triple H WrestleMania 17 match, the Kurt Angle SmackDown matches from July 4th, 2002 and September 4th, 2003, the No DQ match with Ric Flair at WrestleMania 18, the Hardcore title match versus Rob Van Dam for Vengeance 2001. I haven't seen it, but I've heard some good rumblings about the Undertaker-Brock Lesnar match from Unforgiven 2002. And I would also recommend the Undertaker-Jeff Hardy ladder match, which I recently just saw for the first time, from Raw, July the 1st, 2002. That was a great match. So yeah, while Undertaker's American Badass run really wasn't like amazing, he still had some pretty good matches during that run. So yeah, definitely check him out. And your final question, what do you think is the best Chris Jericho IC title run? The problem I can say when it comes to pointing out a specific title run from Jericho as IC champion is the fact there really wasn't one consistent title run from one specific period of time to the next one where I would say that, oh god, yeah, this was really, really memorable. The only two I can think of was probably the one from Royal Rumble 2001 to, I believe it might have been a Raw or a SmackDown in 2001 when he dropped to the Triple H. Because I know he had some pretty good matches and feuds. He had the feud with Benoit when he had the classic ladder match, the Rumble. He had what I heard was a great four-way with X-Pac, Chris Benoit, and Eddie Guerrero at No Way Out 2001. Entertaining match, and even a really entertaining feud with William Regal at WrestleMania. So yeah, I would say that one's close, but I would say my favorite was probably when he won the title from Extreme Rules 2009 until he dropped it back to Rey Mysterio at the Bash. Although it was only a month, it was just great work from what I remember as a kid. And that run was really great as champion, so yeah.